Greetings, comrades. My name is Gigantals, and the season of Hallowtide is finally upon us. So today is currently All Hallows Eve, which means that some of us are going to have unfortunate knocking at our door by strangers' children, demanding that we either give them sweets and candies, or we end up having our house toilet papered or egged. I fortunately don't have to worry about that because I live in a student accommodation, and I'm on a much higher floor than probably all of your guys' houses, so I should be fine from any eggs thrown. So I may have to deal with Halloween parties, which is not going to be fun unless I'm there to see how that goes. Despite the amount of consumerism that has gone on at these holidays, and in the context of this video, Halloween in particular, it's important to remember the roots of this holiday are indeed Catholic. They are fundamental to our theology, and just remembering the souls of the departed, whether or not they've been officially canonized by the church, whether or not we know them and their exploits on this side of life, or it's All Souls Day, which is the day after, and we just remember everyone who's deceased, all of our friends and relatives. Something I would like to adopt from the Americas, and I think parts of Europe too, is the idea of spending time with our family. Strangely enough, even if they're dead. And the reason why is because I've seen plenty of pictures when it's come to researching stuff about Halloween to make videos on it, or just to argue against people why it isn't pagan and it is a Catholic holiday, is that I usually see in Latin America, in Spain I think as well, a couple of places in Germany and also Poland, how you have people and they go to their relatives' graves, they clean it up, they put new flowers, they spend some time with them, and then they go home and they celebrate. And it's not a celebration of the dead in that they're celebrating the dead, but it's a celebration of the dead in the memory of the living. And I think it's quite important to encourage a cultural tradition like that, because it helps strengthen the bonds between family members. One movie that displays this quite well is the movie Coco, which you guys may have seen. I'm not sure if you have. If you haven't, I suggest you do. I quite like that movie. But without giving spoilers, something I quite like about it is the general idea of a nuclear family, in which we see Coco, and he has 3 generations of his family before him, so up to his great-grandmother, still alive, and then he sees 2 generations after them, I believe, and he meets them in the underworld. But in seeing that, it just gives a general sense of the family. Like, even though sometimes at one point when he goes to the underworld and he sees the spirits all around him, he also sees all the spirits of the dead not interacting with the living, but he sees them just being there with the living. So he sees people sitting by next to maybe their grandmother's grave, holding their newborns in their arms, and then the spirits of their grandmother is looking down, smiling at this child, even though they can't be seen. Whilst that's nonsense, that may sound like quite occult and supernatural and something you don't want to do, but I think it would be important to encourage something like that, just a general sense of family, especially in this Western civilization, which is steadily collapsing. And it's also important to remember all the souls of those who are in purgatory, because every soul, I think except for a few, they've had to go through purgatory. And many of our relatives are in purgatory right now as we speak and as we enter this season, and it's important to maybe offer up a rosary for them or prayers for them, that they may pass through purgatory faster and go to heaven, where they may join with the rest of the saints. Now, we may not necessarily know if any of our relatives or how many of them are actually in heaven, but there's hoping. So when it comes to how we should celebrate this Hallowtide season, similar to how it's celebrated in more traditional countries, more traditionally Catholic countries, we should be remembering the dead, not as the dead, but as the living through Christ. So we remember all the saints first as our role models on earth, and what to do and how to live and who to ask for the intercession of, and then we pray, and then we celebrate and pray for all of the souls of our deceased friends and relatives, that they may hopefully be with the saints one day. So whilst my ideal Hallowtide would be very much family-centered, seeing my relatives' graves, cleaning up after them and remembering them, that's going to be quite hard for me, considering much of my family's graves, and much of my family in general, is several thousand miles away. So for those of you who can visit your family's grave, don't take it for granted, and wish your family well. And I have somewhere I need to be shortly, so I'll be busy for the rest of tonight, and maybe tomorrow things go well. Have a good Hallowtide, everyone. God bless you all. See you next video, comrades. Until then.